We are here with Randall Stephens, who is one of the candidates running for mayor of Austin. Thank you for being here, Randall.
Thank you very much.
Tell us why you're in this race and why you, in terms of the environment, would be the best choice.
Well, the first reason I'm in the race is because I thought that Austin voters need someone outside of the downtown insider circle to run for mayor. Okay. Someone who believes he has the skill sets to do the job.
Okay.
And I have a great interest in the environment. I love clean air and clean water, like all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of had a busy career, and in my career I've done some web development. I have a web development project that's launched, and it is designed to help people save fuel, finding things locally.
Right.
But it's a small business. It hasn't taken off gangbusters yet. Okay.
I like increasing the idea that you take that into account when you're making a decision about where to shop. So let's get into some different. Well, first, big picture. In the next 5 years, looking forward, what would be your greatest hope for Austin's environment?
Well, I'd hope that as we grow, I think in my cost planning, I would like to grow in a way that it costs less to deliver city services. Okay, per capita. In other words, as the city's population grows, and maybe grows a little bit vertically, the footprint for the city employee base doesn't get that much larger, and perhaps we could do that without touching employee salaries and benefits. Okay. But ecologically, I think we do need to conserve water, first of all. At home, I've started reducing area that I'm watering. We have an organic garden. We have a lot of flowers, and we're less and less grass. I'd like to ask institutional property owners and commercial property owners to rethink their design and planning for their property to reduce the areas of grass we're watering during this drought period, at least. We're a southwestern state.
Right.
And so I think that's something to take into account.
Now, is your stance that we should be banning it, requiring it to be reused, or what's the line?
I'd like to try and involve community, get more and more community input, and particularly from the business community, because I believe most business owners are very proactive, and once they see that there's so much benefit in being involved in a good campaign to conserve water, I think they'd latch onto it, and I think we could go and make a lot of improvements without heavy regulation. I don't like to drive business away by heavy regulation. Business owners are the creative elements that make everything work. Okay.
So flip side of that, looking forward in the next 5 years, what is your greatest fear of what could happen with the environment?
Well, if we make the wrong decisions and we become dirtier, that would be wrong. So
how would you help prevent that?
The city's taken a lead on environmental issues. Some people don't agree with everything, but I believe the numbers pan out in favor of the solar buy they did. I do have reservations about closing the Decker power plant, because we do own a power production company that sells power to the state, and when the grid goes down, TXU becomes more and more expensive. We have something of a buffer because of that. And I would say that we should look at ways to make Decker more efficient and keep those tools in place.
What about Fayette?
Fayette's the dirtiest of the plants. I think that should be the first in line if we're going to close one.
Okay. And what about the other mix? Where do you stand on nuclear?
Well, Fukushima, right?
Right. Okay.
I'm afraid of it, but I'm not a subject matter expert on it. I'll be the
Right.
first to admit that. And so I worry about nuclear. I worry about organizations and how the government takes care of that waste, and what happens to it, and the half-life.
Right, exactly. What about the management of Austin Energy and the business model going into the future? How are we going to make that sustainable?
Well, I think Austin Energy's management's pretty sustainable. Like any organization, we have, I think, 5 corporations owned by the city council. I probably can't name all of them, but the airport being one of them. And
but you think the city council should stay in charge of Austin Energy?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
All right. And the business model going forward, it's not looking that great at the moment. How are we going to shift it to?
What's your complaint about them, primarily?
The financial sustainability of it. As we get more and more people generating their own solar on rooftops, how does the utility stay solvent?
Well, you make adjustments incrementally. You'd get rid of costs that aren't efficient, And,
Okay.
and if Fayette needs to go, Fayette needs to go. But I'd be
Okay.
very careful if you get rid of all of our assets, you won't have an energy company.
Right.
So,
Right. Okay, let's shift to transportation because you have a lot of history in that. You were part of the Austin Toll Party 10 years ago. And
a while back, yeah.
Tell us what the goals of that were and how you think that's played out and what that means for us going forward.
Well, 10 years ago, we worked on the Austin Toll Party. A fellow named Sal Costello started it, and Linda Curtis organized it. And I was just one of many, many volunteers who went out and got involved. And one of the most exciting things about that is that it was very nonpartisan. Okay, we had people of every political stripe there.
And what was the goal of it?
Well, the goal was to prevent our commuter freeways from becoming tolled. Okay, I don't think any Texan should have to pay a toll to enter the state capital, period.
Right.
Bar none. But they've backed off a bit, or they've started building tolled lanes, and they've planned the East Ed Bluestein improvements with tolled lanes, which are additional to, as I understand, to the ones we have. And those improvements are critical. I think that we also need to improve the access to 183 from the north off of I-35. Those improvements are on the 2035 Campo plan. That needs to be accelerated.
Okay.
And removing traffic lights. If you can remove traffic lights and barriers to flow, make continuous flow intersections in certain areas, but on the freeways, eliminating traffic lights as they did at Riverside and SH-71 and another street called Thornberry near the airport. Traffic flows there now where it used to back up for miles.
Do you have a similar opinion about 45, the possible building of it, but how it should be done?
I believe that the state can build 45 in a way that is ecologically, the eco footprint isn't damaged. I believe that they can find a way to do that, but you should absolutely restrict development for miles around, at least over the recharge zone. I think it's very important. I think we need to
Commercial
compromise.
development or housing or
Commercial
all of
and
it?
housing, primarily housing. I think you can almost regulate commercial, but I don't think either of them should be there. If we have open land there, I think we can restrict it. And if the city's bought a bunch of the land around it, just don't build there. And the Commissioner's Court has to be involved in that decision-making process too.
So you think 45 is going to solve a problem, especially if it's not built
Well,
around?
first of all, I mean, I believe the taxpayers voted for this. It's been 16, 17 years ago. It was supposed to be a state-funded road. Then the state changed their business model. These lawsuits emerged, and challenges, the lawsuits were valid. They had to be looked at. I don't believe that the road, I'm not convinced, I haven't seen the evidence yet. I'm sure I'll get a lot of emails, and people will educate me on that. But I believe you can build the road. I think the biggest problem is the human footprint around it. And I believe you can build the road so that drainage happens and that the ecosystem isn't damaged.
Okay, let's shift to, you're a fan of protecting trees from the bulldozers.
Oh, yeah.
Say some more about that. Like what's the threshold?
Well, obviously we have a lot of wonderful giant oaks. You know, you can get rid of the mountain juniper and nobody's going to miss it. You know, but I just believe that we should restrict cutting those trees if we can. I do think we need to do a lot of development, and a lot of the area that I would like to see developed does have oaks on it. And
Where would that be?
Well, East Ed Bluestein, outside of 183 primarily. There's a lot of land. But I believe things can be done.
So talk about land use development. We've just adopted Imagine Austin, and that's going to be translated into code next, evolution of our code. What do you think that we should be driving toward? What will the city look like in the future in a way that will be sustainable for us?
I think that the best model right now, I think we need to move from imagining Austin to death and is inspiring Austin to grow smartly.
Okay.
And we need to
That's
build
what you call
along.
your program, right?
I would think so. We need to move forward. It's time to take that step. And I believe in code development and tying that in with commercial development and in the incentive programs to the extent which the future council decides to let them be funded, should shift the balance from attracting large out-of-state firms to come in, bringing populations of people,
Right.
to attracting regional small business to occupy first the existing vacant commercial real estate,
Okay.
and to a lesser extent developing new properties. But we do also need to develop. I hate to use the word affordable housing. I'd say inexpensive housing. And I can tell you that I saw an example 30 years ago when I returned from the Air Force to civilian life. I was in Tulsa. I went to work up there. And as a child, that was a very segregated city. And it was inexpensive housing, apartments going up by the score, put up by a builder up there that changed the demographic for the better. It's a different city today.
Right.
And it was always a friendly city. We had that problem, and that problem's gone. Now here we have an economic segregation. We have a problem with large numbers of people in Austin aren't able to stay in their homes because their wages aren't keeping up.
Do you have a strategy for dealing with that?
You know, I can't make a promise on that. All this is happening. I believe the growth of Austin, again, bringing in large companies, again, the growth of downtown has happened at the expense of the periphery. I like to say I live out in Avery Ranch on the very edge of Austin. I have peripheral vision. From up there, we're about 800 feet higher, you can see. You can see that you have room to grow. You have room to spread out your inexpensive housing units and affordable housing and spread out your Section 8 development. Maybe redevelop some of the old properties in the core as you provide better properties for people. There will be people that will say they don't want their enclaves broken up, and I understand that too. So we'll let the community decide about that and seek a lot more community input. But I believe if we grow along the periphery of Austin, and I like to say 183 from city limit to city limit, smartly, and put in more retail, mixed use, light manufacturing, but occupy the existing vacant commercial real estate first. That'll be a plus, and it'll help us fill out some of that. Small employers employ more people collectively than big employers.
Right.
And so I believe that footprint will be entirely different.
Okay. Let's shift to zero waste strategies. You are not a fan of the bag ordinance, the single-use bag ordinance, is from what I can tell.
You know what? I think I wanted to edit that after I sent it. I thought I meant to. I don't mind it. I have a bag full of bags in my car.
Right.
Okay. What I would like to do is look toward using different products to make bags that are biodegradable. For instance, I saw something on the internet. How true it is, I'm not sure, but that basically an acre of hemp will produce as much paper as an acre of trees. And you can grow that hemp a lot faster.
Right.
Industrial hemp is one
illegal.
thing, and I don't smoke weed, but I think that is something that could be addressed. And at the state level, I believe the state of Texas could do that. You could actually produce those products and sell them. There might be some regulations as far as crossing state lines with that product, but there are other ways to create, single-use or reusable bags.
How else do we get people reducing their waste, or are there any new policies we need to put in place for that?
Well, there are some plans to advance recycling and to another level. I like single stream. I believe you can move a single stream a lot more efficiently, and they've adjusted to using their containers and getting things out, and then it can be sorted. You get a sorting facility, and those sorting facilities can employ people who are living under bridges. We have a whole nother level of problem to address in this community. We have a federal lockup east of town, people who can't get jobs. We have this potential opportunity to redevelop our recycling programs, having people employed at wages that'll help them in temporary housing if necessary, and getting people into programs like the MAP program. The MAP card is federally funded, and they can get in to see a primary care physician instead of going to see an ER doctor.
Right.
It'll save tens of millions of dollars.
All right.
It'll be almost a self-funding program.
Excellent. Let me shift it back to zero waste for one more. Composting.
Yeah.
What should we be doing?
Well, we have urban farming. Okay, I have my wife and I have 4 6-by-12 foot box gardens we've put in the backyard. And it's all organic. Composting helps. People have waste that you can put it in a separate container, and I believe that there are some neighborhoods they've already been working with people to start using the composting service.
Right.
I forget what they call it. Forgive me.
Compost peddlers, yeah.
Compost Peddlers is
Yeah.
the company that brings them out,
Right.
and they peddle it out.
Okay, cover landscape, water, transportation. You have an interesting idea about what we should be doing in terms of a hybrid urban rail system.
Well, I came out against Prop 1. And initially I was starting to lean towards it, but then I started looking at some of the numbers on it and the cost. It's really going to cost, based upon, and it has limitations on ridership. Okay? Using the ridership they're projecting, and given the maximum limits on the cars and the frequency, they're just not going to take enough people off the street. And doing so on this surface-based system, there will be a crossing guard at every street it crosses in that 9 miles. And the frequency, every 10 minutes going north, every 10 minutes going south. You're going to stop traffic. The crossing guards are going to come down every 5 to 7 minutes all day long during the operating. You're going to create problems we don't have.
Right.
You're going to have traffic problems if you're running up
So
Lamar.
what are you proposing?
Well, if we build rail, rail should not stop traffic. You can elevate it. I tweeted
Okay.
recently a photograph of some supports they're building at the airport for a ramp. It's not designed for rail, but it's designed for the ramp from the parking garage down to the street level. These things are going up within about 8 weeks. You could actually build this thing pretty fast.
Wow.
And if you punch the red line down 4th Street, make that left turn, build up your elevation along the way, cross Chavez, over Chavez, cross that river, make that left turn, take it out to the airport. You can not only take travelers off the road, you'll
Right.
take cabs off the road. Employees will use it. And you could actually build out even more parking facilities around the airport. Commuters, you could set your price point for the ride and parking to where commuters would park, take the train downtown and through town. Now that red line is a hybrid system. It provides urban rail inside the core of Austin. If you get on it downtown at rush hour, it's packed. I ride my bicycle down 8 or 10 times a year down to the airport. I don't do it that often. I'll ride the bicycle back. I'll get on the train. I have to get on the train before it goes downtown, or it's so full I can't get on there.
Yeah.
So hybrid service, and your current plan under Prop 1 is duplicating a station at the Highland Mall.
Right.
It's called Highland Station.
Okay, well, thanks. I think we covered a lot of the issues that
Thank
you
you.
are putting forward, and thank you for being here.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.